up mga guys? What's up mga kakandi natin dyan from Luzon, Visayas o Mindanao, hilabi na sa kandi na taga Davao. Ako si Riza Tuba, ang tawag budagan o andang bukod sa imo. Charaon. O karon akong ichika sa inyo is about conflict resolution. Conflict resolution is a skill that is best built through years of practice and experience, starting out with some of the most common and effective conflict resolution strategies will give you a strong foundation to work from years to come. So, conflict in the workplace is common. So, effective conflict resolution strategies for HR need to be common as well. So, conflict is any workplace disagreement that disrupts the workflow. It is often a situation in which people perceive a threat. So they may perceive this threat as a physical, emotional, or a grab power or status. It's usually a great feeling that not necessarily a specific trait that occurs. Conflict can also occur whenever people try to make others change their actions or to gain an unfair advantage. Another component of conflict is response are based on perceptions of a situation rather than an objective views. So what does it mean? Sometimes our intent is different. That how people perceive and how people communicate or how they respond to a certain things is based on their perceptions, not the intent that's happening. So we have to be really cautious about our communication style, body language, how things happen in the workplace, so that the employees interpret the intent of what we're trying to do in the workplace. This highlights the point that conflict is often based on perception and HR has to get to the root of that matter. Conflict resolution. Why should the HR get involved? Why should HR get involved in conflict resolution in the first place? Shouldn't the conflict be resolved by this involved? There are actually a lot of reasons that it makes sense for the HR step in, not the least of which are the high cost of conflict. First is lost productivity, poor employee health, potential activities, risk of litigation, increased turnover, potential for theft, violence or sabotage, wasted time, and absenteeism. As managers and supervisors, we really need to manage the workplace conflict so that their kinds of things are minimized.
Now let's discuss first the role of HR in resolving conflict at work. Of course, there's so much more to the duties of the HR than just solving the conflicts. So let us look closer some of the essential tasks of the HR that help them deal with all interpersonal and intrapersonal issues at the workplace. First is manage the differences. Most of the modern corporations, especially international ones, employ people of the different cultural background and that might result in the emergence of conflicts. Talking about the conflicts topics, we need to be cautious, but still we've got to admit that sometimes people might experience problems accepting the differences between them and others when it comes to managing the differences between the employees. The HR managers need to pinpoint the similarities between people and make an emphasis on that similarities. Whenever a tension between people occurs, the HR management need to apply conflict resolution skills to help people understand that the differences between them do not hinder the work process but enrich the team and give it more strength. Different people with different mindsets can come up with the crazy ideas that can ultimately benefit everyone in the company and produce some positive changes.
The second one is locate the tension points. A smart HR managers always keeps an eye on the team to prevent conflicts before they even happen. So this requires a deep understanding of human relationships as well as attention to the details. The HR managers must always read between the lines of these specific conflicts and see where the points of tension emerge between the employees. For example, you may see two employees generally tension over some work-related issues, or even over a place in the parking lot by the office, so that you need to react immediately to present the conflict them getting out of hands. The employees must feel free to communicate their concerns and problems with HR. That is how they can eliminate the conflict before they even happen. Number three is create a healthy environment. There are tons of conflict essays that talks about a healthy environment within the team, but you've got to understand that each team is unique and that you cannot apply the same approach to two different teams. So, however, the basic recommendation is that HR has to create an atmosphere of trust in which people feel safe to discuss their problems and free to communicate with each other the way they feel most comfortable. A healthy environment can also be achieved by adding some value to the time people spend at the office. Give them some entertainment, a comfortable kitchen, some opportunities for fun and relaxation. And the people would feel so much more comfortable doing their job. When people and are comfortable, they are less likely to engage in conflict. So it is always a smart move to increase their general job satisfaction. The fourth one is deal with conflicts. Dealing with conflicts is the hardest part, but every HR has to be aware of the relevant conflict resolutions techniques to deal with any situation that might arise. Of course, each situation has its own unique nuance says that can make it difficult to apply a particular technique for the office conflict resolution. But smart HR managers can apply the combination of techniques and experience to address the situation in the most efficient manner. Each HR has to develop a set of skills and knowledge to effectively deal with the conflicts, and all of that comes with experience and practice. And the last one is wrap up. The role of HR is so much more than just facing the conflicts. So it is also about helping people overcome their personal issues, managing diverse teams, providing people with comfortable working environment, and just making some everyone is happy at their workplace. All of these tasks are essential for sustaining the efficient functioning of the most important people in the office who often stayed in the shadows. So now, let's proceed to the 5 conflict resolutions practices for HR to incorporate. First is emphasize clarity and consistency in policies and procedures. Make the rationale for decisions transparent. Ensure that the company leaders share the thinking behind the company's approaches and decisions. This minimizes potential conflict that may arise from policy changes. Also, it is important when implementing existing policy in a fair manner. Working together successfully starts with intentionally as a team. Start by identifying everyone you want to involve in the policy. Consider subject matter experts in or outside your company who are familiar with existing protocol, executives, and members of the legal departments and human resources. Not all of your team members will share the same rule as you. It's writing policies and procedures. Some will be high touch and want to have a say in every steps of the process. The second one is ensure accountability for conflict resolution. Ensure all employees, not just the managers or HR, are accountable for resolving conflict. Managers don't have to take care of every issues. The employees involved need to be part of the solution. HR and for managers should mediate, however. When with the assistance of the people in conflict, you mutually develop solutions. You must hold everyone accountable. If you have a rule in ongoing resolutions to the conflict, hold yourselves accountable too. Ensuring accountability means stating to each person involved in the conflict that you expect them to stick to the rule in solution. This means you will have to follow up regularly, especially in the early stages of resolution. This is not only helps ensure ongoing resolution of the conflict, but also um, shows that you as a leader support everyone involved. Number three, don't ignore the conflict. While there are some cases where short-term avoidance is part of the long-term solution, especially for the minor issues, in general, avoidance conflict won't fix anything. It is especially important to not avoid dealing with conflict when it could escalate to violence. If you are someone who dislikes dealing with conflict, it might seem tempting to just put your head down and pretend it doesn't exist, hoping it will resolve itself on its own. Ignored conflicts have a tendency to foster over time and reappear at inopportune moments. So do you, your team, a favor and address conflicts when they occur, reaping a potentially toxic situation in the bad room as you recognize it. Number four is seek to understand. There are underlying emotions in conflict, and HR and managers used to understand what is going on and the root of the problem. Seek to understand means to truly listen to people when you engage in conversation. It consists of listening with a totally open mind, as if you were listening to what is being said for the first time. Seek to understand everything the other is communicating their words and nonverbal signals. Like if you are empathizing correctly, then your attention will be focused on what they have said rather than projecting your own life story into them. And the last one is recognize different circumstances. Different circumstances and different approaches to conflict can make a huge difference. And sometimes simply recognizing what is going on is the first step towards resolution. It can also be a great way to learn about one another. And that's all about of my report. Thank you for listening and God bless.